Took a chance with that. I didn't warm my voice. I could have been really crackle, crackle. Anyway, good morning for April 24th. What day is it?
Wednesday.
Right, the days. I keep on track with the dates. It's the days I actually forget because, well, sometimes they just seem to merge into the other. It's like the same day, although we tend to get up with positivity, like today is going to be the day that changes everything. We're artists. We have to believe that. Even though, we have been artists our entire life and we've paid the bills, and I've certainly enjoyed a measure of success, as have you. It's still, an artist has to go to bed with positivity despite all the rejections, or no, you don't hear from anyone anymore. Courtesy seems to have just flown out the window. So you only hear from people if they want to say no to you. But if they want to, but even then, I guess. Anyway, to all the artists out there, persevere, because in times of tragedy, that is what keeps us all afloat. Our heart work. And this is what this is. The Daily Egg is part of the lives of our days, which is our heart work. And it, as I have said, it is televisionary. And it's not for everybody, and we get that. But we're not looking for everybody. We're looking for the thinkers, for the people who want to change the paradigms, for people who want to change the state of the world that it is in now. It starts one person at a time. That person is looking at you in the mirror. And then you find others who are actually changing things and are going out of their way to be hated by everybody. As Dwayne said to me last night, we chose the hard path. We chose a hard path. Oh, well, we're on it, right? I don't know what to say. So I'm just going to continue reading the news headlines for today from around the world, starting with ABC Australia. Okay, from New South Wales. These are the top stories, national top stories, actually. Despite increased surveillance, Chinese men walked onto a northern Australian airstrip. The world is in absolute fear over Chinese people. Seriously, the world is terrified of China because, especially the Euro constructs, because they know that China has been lying in wait or dormant or has just applied their excellence. I'm not saying that everything China does is right. There are lots of Chinese people in China who will tell you that that's not the case. They are also on the run from the Chinese government. But the Western world would perhaps cotton onto that and say, yes, China's this and China's that, and China's going to do this to the world. I don't know. In Australia, of course, the anti-Chinese sentiment is, and they don't then differentiate. So it then becomes an anti-Asian origin sentiment here. So anyone of Asian origin gets called Chinese, because the cost of living is so bad, but it has been increasing over the last decade, over the last millennia. So there's a lot of property. There's property and coastal, in cities and out back, that are owned by offshore people. And majority of them are owned by Chinese people. Well, I shouldn't say majority, but everywhere now you have real estate agencies that cater specifically to their rich, Asian market. And, well, instead of blaming them, you've got to actually ask, well, who's allowing this to happen? If it's happening on Australian soil, therefore the Australian government has a say in this, and they're allowing the sale of all of it. People, especially Euro-Australians, love to go up in arms about how all the outback properties, etc., are owned by, they say, Chinese, people. But who's selling that to them? And why aren't people attacking the billionaires in Australia, the Reinhardts of Australia, etc., the billionaires who do own majority things, who aren't doing much, who, even though they own it, what are they doing to help that trickle back down into the economy? Nothing. Why is everyone getting richer? And I had shared something on my Instagram stories the other day about, or just yesterday, how and what happened. Let me see if I can find this for you to read out. Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. Workers lost 3.7 trillion in earnings during the pandemic. Women and Gen Z saw the biggest losses. So women and young people, yeah, that's about right. And artists, by the way, women, Gen Z, and all artists. But world's billionaires got richer by 3.9 trillion during the pandemic. At a time when the world was shut down, and this is what, when the richer you are, the richer you get. So at times of deficits and financial crises and anything that just absolutely stops the world's economy, the rich get richer because they have the money to swoop in and buy property, buy businesses, buy everything up, because people are like, oh my gosh, what has happened? I need to offload. So people sell for cheap, bang, bang, bang. And then all these people just acquire more property. Fantastic, isn't it? Wonderful. You think they'd be buying it to give back to people, like saying, I've bought all of these houses. Now, everyone, there's a lottery you can apply to win. I don't know. I just know that I know what we would do if we were billionaires. We'd be Batman, but that's beside the point. Speaking of which, please do catch up on Finalysis. Storyboard is what we call it now. That's on our channel, The Lives of Our Days, and this is where we break down movies we are fans of and characters we are fans of, but the soundtrack to what we're saying is overlaid on Dwayne illustrating. But there's a few changes coming around, so join us this afternoon or this evening for Finalysis. However, I am now reading the news headlines. I'm trying not to get too... It is depressing, right? I get it. Watching the Daily Egg is, it's not easy going. The Daily Egg sounds like it would just be rather fun and frivolous and innocent, and life is a mixture of everything, of seriousness and frivolity. Life is a mixture of understanding that there are ups and downs. We shouldn't actually have pain. The opposite of happiness is not abject, stress, and disaster and tragedy. It is, billionaires shouldn't exist, and billionaires are directly responsible for the state of the world that is. How do you think billionaires became billionaires? Profits. But anyway, I'm going to go back to reading this headline. Despite increased surveillance, Chinese men walked onto a northern Australian airstrip. Locals are alarmed that Chinese men dropped on a remote beach were able to enter an Australian airbase undetected, given the ramping up of surveillance along the crocodile-infested coastline. Does this mean they have surveillance cameras on crocodiles? And what an idea.
Cool. Wow.
Because around the Northern Territory, and that the Northern Territory is very, very close to the start of Asia, and it's only about a 4-hour flight really to Indonesia from there. And it's all the most beautiful water, but I really wouldn't suggest going swimming anywhere around there because crocodiles and sharks, etc. And only First Nations people have the affinity or intelligence to not,
So CCCTV?
That is great. That is great. That is an idea. If you're listening, get the camera surveillance on. But that's very good. By the way, crocodiles have existed for how long? Crocodiles and sharks have been around for almost as long as the planet.
No.
Okay.
450 million years.
So that's a cosmic orbit? Yeah?
That's 2 cosmic orbits.
So cosmic orbits, as we talked about in Sitara, as Dwayne explained, a cosmic orbit is the
orbit around the galaxy.
So the solar system orbiting around the galaxy.
Yes.
Right.
Sorry.
Because as we talked about in Sitara, we're in constant motion. Sitara is our show about everything celestial, and that is astronomy, astrology, theology, and Earth.
So crocodiles have only been here 200 million years.
Only 200 million years.
They've been here twice as long.
Man, sharks, eh? Anyway, sharks and crocodiles patrol the waters of Australia, but people want to buy submarines. Really, what we should have been doing is not colonizing in the first place. Imagine if First Nations people were left to, actually protect the country that is theirs, the land that is theirs, and for the benefit of everyone else.
There's no profit in that.
True. Well, there you go. Well, everyone could be happy. There's so much profit to be made if everybody was happy. Equity, that old-fashioned idea, that notion that perhaps every single person who has been born, has the right to live struggle-free. Anyway, I'm going to continue reading headlines. Australia's culture wars are back on the topic of breasts. It's no great surprise, but perhaps this time there's a lesson. And this is about the news. One of the news stories I read out yesterday about the American comedian Arj Barker, who asked a woman to leave his show because she was breastfeeding. And let me just read this. It really should come as no surprise to Arj Barker that the eviction of a breastfeeding mother from his Melbourne show has whipped up another round of culture wars. But these situations are complicated by differing experiences and emotional triggers, and culture wars aren't good with detail. And this is written by Annabelle Crabb, who is a respected ex-political journalist who is now an opinion journalist, and she's a Euro-Australian woman who, they're the ones who get all the benefits. And brown women and brown people who fillet the egos of the constructs. I'm seeing it now. I'm seeing certain people who are being elevated. Now, this just sounds like a bit of churlishness, doesn't it? Oh well. But I'm seeing the truth of certain things about what it takes to get ahead in the constructs. And I think that saying things like this may actually be not the right thing to say. And I get it. If you are scared of transparency and truth, this is not the place for you. This is not the show for you. And I have to embrace that too. Sometimes I think, oh gosh, I shouldn't be so harsh, or I shouldn't be so candid. And that is the problem with the world, isn't it? We should all be behaving like we are telepathic. And if we're not going to be telepathic through our senses, then for gosh sake, can we at least be telepathic vocally? That does require truth. So this people now, they're protesting, and so there's this woman, she looks like a typical, she's got like 10 children hanging off her. Anyway, I prioritize the needs of my child. Really? How about the needs of the world's children? Over the weird attitudes of dinosaurs. Stop the harassment of breastfeeding mums and bubs. Ugh, I hate that. I do agree with that. Stop the harassment of something that is essential. I'm always going to be on the side of women on this one. However, we have to be very truthful about what women are doing to themselves, to us, because women like this are not on the side of women who are brown, women who are black. Why aren't they on the side of all the mothers who are losing their children around Australia? Do they care that a 10-year-old committed suicide in state care, whilst in state care? No, they don't care about that. What about the rights of mothers and children and bubs then? But I do firmly contend this. If you are breastfeeding and you want to go out on a night out, may I suggest that you then prioritize your child. And don't just say you're prioritizing the needs of your child. You are prioritizing your needs above the needs of the child. Because the child who is breastfeeding, they don't know. They will be hungry anytime, sure. So whip your breasts out and feed that child. When you have to go about your daily routine of, if you're shopping, if you're needing to go out, if you're needing to do things, but whose needs are that prioritized? Whose needs are being prioritized there? Because if you were really prioritizing the needs of your child, you wouldn't be going out at night with your mother and your sister for a girls' night out with your baby in tow, sitting front row so that you can breastfeed. Were you looking to be heckled? That's my take on this. Because if you really were about prioritizing the needs of your child, you would not have gone out. Face it, you are prioritizing your own needs. And I agree, you should, but don't exploit your child for this. This is how the suffragettes were. It was prioritizing their needs, not women's needs, their own needs. And yeah, they were women, so you're probably saying, but they were women, son, there. And they were, yeah. Anyway, so this is how I feel about it. If you do not put your child up and say you're prioritizing their needs. I get it. If you've got to go to work, if you've got to go shopping, etc., all the things that need to be done in the daily thing. But this is a social situation. You didn't have to be there. And if you really, really wanted to go out, you would have found a babysitter. You've got your mother and sister with you. Great. This person. Am I? You can't get into this because you always say, well, as a man, you have no right to. And I do agree with that. I do agree.
Yeah.
And I'm always going to take the side of a woman. But as a woman, as a woman's woman, I am saying that's some next level selfishness. Prioritizing the needs of your child. Bullshit. Stay home. If that's what it is, be honest, saying you're prioritizing your needs. You wanted to go out. There was nothing. But, you could actually sacrifice it. Why have the child? Because the child didn't ask to be born. Why have the child? Yes, there's many of us in this world who deliberately choose not to have children. I did. But that didn't stop me from being a mother. I brought up 5 children born to a woman who didn't want to prioritize their needs at all. Quite happy for me to be while she went playing tennis with the ladies. Fucking hell. I should warn also that there may be a few more little, vulgarity, they call it, profanity, they call it, and they don't see what's happening in the world as vulgar and profane. No, words made up of letters that have been stolen from all around the world, when they get coined and put together, that's what's considered vulgar and profane. I don't think so. This is what is vulgar. I'm going to read the next headline. Man charged with murdering Molly Ticehurst was on bail for charges of rape. Stalking. New South Wales man Daniel Billings has faced court charged with murdering childcare worker Molly Ticehurst, 28. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says the government will look at every measure to stop the horrifying rates of violence against women. Now they're going to do it? Now when more and more women are being killed? Molly Ticehurst is a Euro-Australian woman, and for some reason, and I hate to say this, I'm so sorry. I know how you're going to hear this. I know what you're going to take out of this because this is what you want to hear. But in our constructs, Euro lives have more value than black lives and brown lives. That is a fact. Admit it. Don't be like, how dare you say that a young woman has to... Yeah, young women die all the time. Women have been subjected to the most heinous behavior of weak-minded, traumatized people. And I will say again, a weak mind and a mind that has mental health issues are 2 separate things. No, I'm not a medical professional, but I do know way too many strong people, good people who have to battle with mental health. How the world is individual trauma and collective trauma. So the Prime Minister, it says the government will look at every measure to stop the horrifying rates of violence against women. I'm going to continue reading. Gabrielle estimates a battery explosion in her home caused $8,000 damage and no one is paying compensation. Brittany Higgins is fighting her former boss in court. Here's what you need to know. I'm going to read a little bit about that. So Brittany Higgins is the young woman who came forth and was open about being raped in Parliament by a staffer at that time. And there's been it's been in the news in all the Australian Euro mastheads about the defamation case. It was against her and legendary journalist Lisa Wilkinson, who is a role model of mine from when I was a teen. One of the reasons why I did want to go into news journalism. And so they were being sued by the rapist. And also, listen to this, Senator Linda Reynolds sues her former political staffer, Brittany Higgins, and Ms. Higgins' partner, David Shiraz, for defamation over a series of social media posts, and neither side appears willing to back down. I want to show you, Dwayne, may I show you, look, the women involved?
Right.
Would you say there's some misogyny here, internalized misogyny?
A little bit, yeah, for sure. 100%. Wow.
Another thing people don't want to admit is the misogyny that women, cis women, have. That is, of course, a result of patriarchy. And it does come down to something as simple as that, as misogyny in cis women externalized by punishing other women for being for being women. Women punish each other for that. We don't talk enough about the misogyny women have against each other. All right, let's continue with the news headlines in ABC. A subterranean wonderland lies beneath the Nullarbor. A battle between energy and the environment looms in the future. Of course it does. Of course it does. Wherever there is a natural resource, you know it's going to be exploited. If you look at all this, everything in the stock exchange from around the world, the Dow, anything, the ASX, anything, you'll see how the stocks, green stocks, which is what I used to invest in, and don't take any investment tips from me. I really thought the green stocks were going to go up. I thought that they were really, plausible things in place to turns out I was wrong, because profits, that's the bottom line. So the Nullarbor Plain is famous for being dry, flat and featureless, but it's a very different story beneath the surface, with an intricate cave system that has remained mostly untouched, which means they're probably going to find, oil there or something, or gas, which they're going to frack, and there you go. Another life cycle of activism will continue, because this seems to be the cycle of life, the people who will, the exploiters, and then the activists, and then everybody in between. And so everybody in between has to choose between towing the line and filleting societal dick, or being activists and perpetuating the exploitation. Because without the exploitation, activists have nothing. And so we perpetuate this cycle of humanity. If you're wondering, how does this make you an artist? Well, artists channel the truth, really. Unless, of course, we want to pay the bills, then we've got to shut up. And we've got to compromise our skill set and heart work, etc. I'm going to continue. Top Cop and Spy Boss urge social media companies to do better on encryption. Top Cop and Spy Boss, urge social media companies to do better on encryption. Why? What is it that you know that the rest of us don't? By now, I just think, they're watching everything we do. People get so scared about, oh my God, our phones are listening to us. Everything is listening to us. Besides, people don't quite understand how subconscious our actions are. So we don't even realize how we are subconsciously acting on the words we say. I mean, that is also something internal that we need to look at. But on social media, on our phones, etc., we think our phones are listening to us. It's what you start subconsciously looking for. And maybe the phones really are listening to us, who knows? If that's the case, hello, get me on your side. I could be a valuable asset in this day and time of authenticity. Authenticity is now part of AI. Authentic intelligence, because humans have decided to give up that. Here you go, think for us. People have had no choice. We have been corralled and manipulated and gaslit into a corner to then go, okay, we can't think for ourselves anymore. Take it over. They gave consent. It's like when I was 13 and I was raped by an older guy. I didn't struggle because I knew. So I knew what would happen if I did. So I guess they could, this idiot, because guys are like that. They don't quite understand. They get so caught up in what the blood rushes and the blood rush to the genitals that they forget to think, and they don't understand that, no, can you not read this girl, a woman, by the way, she's only 13, that girl. So that was considered consent, I guess. So this is what we do. We get cornered. We get into a corner, and then we give consent at, metaphorical gunpoint. So, reading the headline, social media companies are slammed by Australia's top police officer for pouring accelerant on the flames of misinformation and extremism on their platforms, while the boss of Asia raises concerns encrypted chat services are a safe room for terrorists and spies. Dude, you're a spy yourself. I'm a bit confused about that. But anyway, this is because Musk is now, he's rallying against something. The safety commissioner in Australia has asked that no videos be shared of all the the stabbings, etc., that have happened in Australia in the last fortnight. And Musk is saying, well, why does this, you don't have the right to say that. And also what is happening with TikTok now. I haven't kept up to news with what is happening with TikTok now. Could you please look up for me the TikTok ban? Because the Senate, and they are going to vote. It has passed. The bill has passed, and now they're going to vote. And this time it may go through because they will be convinced that the Chinese are out to get them. The state of America is at war with China. So Congress, this is from NBC News, Congress is finally set to approve a TikTok ban, but it could still be years before it takes effect. The Chinese-owned app, it's Chinese-owned now, is likely to challenge the statute in court, meaning it could take years before anything happens to the platform and its users. How soon could a potential ban take effect? It says years. So now this is fear-mongering. Again, redirecting people's attention. We may need to talk about this a bit. For what does that actually mean? It could mean an resetting, or people are now saying, oh, well, let artificial intelligence take its course. Because, of course, Meta has unveiled its new AI on all the platforms. There's a pattern here. The dots are there. Connect them.
Patent?
Patents, yeah. Wow. Holy cow. So, of course, the banning of TikTok has, yes, it's got to do with that it's Chinese affiliated. Could you just find out who owns TikTok? Because I'm certain that it was, that the person who owns it is a Singaporean man of Chinese ancestry. But, and I think ByteDance, and now they Chinese owned? Because China does have its own social media platforms. They have Douyin, which is the TikTok, and they don't have all of these in China. Why would they? They're billion plus people. They've got their own things. Thanks. Look, I'm not necessarily pro-China, although I shouldn't say that because I really do love everything Chinese. But I do see, as I said earlier, they've got human rights issues of themselves. They've got huge human rights issues, and there's a huge divide between the I can never say this word when I need to say it. Between the citizens and the elite. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it because I cannot say it. I'm going to go back to reading headlines. So, what have you? It's ByteDance. Is it Chinese owned?
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. So it says here, Zhang, Z-H-A-N.
Zhang, yeah, Zhang. Is a Chinese internet entrepreneur. He founded ByteDance in 2012, developed the news aggregator and the video sharing.
So, yeah.
So turns out and so what's wrong with that? But they say that that they're harvesting information. So he is Chinese. Oh gosh. Well, there you go. It's amusing. I'm not on TikTok, so I don't know. And people, I guess the whole world's exploiters have been harvesting our information. Why are we now picking on that one? I mean,
We're just an experiment.
Meta is harvesting information on a daily basis. What do you think all these filters have been doing? They've been checking out your faces. All of this. Get your news sources from reliable. Well, who is that anymore? Because please do understand that more and more of what you may be seeing, even now on Netflix, they had a completely AI or something AI created crime drama. and people weren't real. Newsreaders are not real anymore. You have people, influencers, who are definitely not real. Oh gosh, I'm going to move on to the world. The world, it's all quite depressing, really. And to see what's happening in Australia, it seems a bit like Trump trial, day 6 key takeaways, a skeptical judge and the National Enquirer deal. Oh my gosh. Secret report, and another headline, secret report warns Australian Border Force's Marine unit is not safe for women. Human Rights Commission calls for immediate intervention in the division and says sexism and bullying are rife. I am now reading from The Guardian. To women, this is nothing new. Sexism and bullying have gotten worse. The weaker the males of our societies have become, and not everyone, not every single male. I can attest to that there are some men in this world, very few, because they're confused. I'm not an apologist for men and men's rights activist. I know a girl who considers herself a men's rights activist. I'm like, dude, what? No. No. You might, and of course, foot soldiers of the patriarchy are these Eurostream capital, template feminist. Don't get me wrong here. I'm a woman's woman. I'm out to get the misogynists, and it is okay for women to look at each other and go, whoa, what are you doing? What are you doing? Don't hide behind the shield of woman. Don't hide behind the responsibility of being a woman just so you can prioritize your needs. I may be harsh, but I feel now I've got nothing to lose anymore. I've tried to be polite as I've watched women do this to each other. Yeah, we have got it bad. They have been out to get us ever since the understanding was that, whoops, they have the power. They're the ones who actually bring people into the world. Who is responsible for bringing all these people into this world? Who? Why are these people still allowed to continue breeding when they haven't even grown up themselves? Why is there not a psychological test in place to see if that person, including the sperm donor, especially the sperm donor, but especially the woman, why can't we talk about this quite frankly? Because it's seen as betrayal, against women. I am very much of the sisterhood. I have strong women in my life and I know what we're like. I do see that majority still, regardless of how good and strong, are still defined by the constructs. I am a woman's woman. I am a woman. And I can see what is happening and what we're doing and how we have been manipulated into. And it is very easy to say that I too am doing that, and, blaming women and putting women down. Very easy to say that, very easy. And don't you come around here if you've got a dick and you think I'm going to be on your side. No, no, no. Mm-mm. It is because of the patriarchy that women have turned on each other. Should have closed our wombs a long time ago. Not your legs. Enjoy sex. That's a woman's right to have. But as I've talked about in many, many episodes and in episodes of our podcast, that responsibility of having a womb meant that you needed to be really, really certain about who was going to fertilize the egg in those wombs. Anyway, the Daily Egg must continue. Let me see, what else can I read on The Guardian that is going to depress us further? Trump's hush money trial. The National Enquirer publisher says he was eyes and ears of 2016 campaign. National Enquirer is a tabloid, and of course it suits what Trump is doing, because Trump is a tabloid darling. This puppet could be so easily manipulated into actually doing good for the world. He's just... I can't look at his face, though. He's so hideous. He's definitely ugly. The uglies of the world rule the world. So little dicks and uglies have taken over. They really have. I'm sorry. This is what's happening. The smaller the bigger the ego, the bigger the need to have power. I think that you can find you could absolutely correlate the measurement of someone's penis with you know, with something. So I look at all these people who are out to get the world, and they've got they've got the hot honeys on their arm, right, as badges of credibility. Hey, I was a hot honey too once. Well, this is a no holds barred, the Daily Egg, because I am tired of the world as it is. I am tired of the world. I want to live in a world where other people are not struggling as well, where other people are, where we're all. What has happened? What has happened to us? Do you know the answer to that? What has happened to us? Do you really think this is a natural process of the world? Do you really think that this is what the world is meant to be? Do you really think that strife and problems and struggle and disasters and tragedy and such a segregation in our economic demographics, do you think that this is what it's meant to be? Do you really think that people like Trump are meant to be in positions of leadership? He's just one of the many. There are so many we don't know, so many behind the scenes. We all live in constant fear. People with rage and ego-fueled, trauma that they're externalizing and making everybody else pay for. We live in fear of these people because, look what's happening to women. Look what's happening to everyone. The few men who dare to make a stand, they stand alone. There's a lot of males who hide behind strong women for their strength. Oh, I know of quite a few of those. But it all comes down to this. Despite all of that, all of these people, every single person is traumatized. The less traumatized a person, perhaps the more ignorant, no, I don't know. I think that even that ignorance is a product of trauma. Insularity, finding my own peace. I'm going to shut everyone out. La la la, the world is so beautiful. Hashtag party life. Oh my God. Look, this has not been the Daily Egg I would have preferred it to be. I don't know what's happening around the world. Oh gosh. What's happening in the world? I'll just go quickly into Fiji village. And a village headman's wife calls for suicide awareness after son's death and other attempted cases. The suicide rate in Fiji is terrible. So the headline here says, young man commits suicide in Nasese, a suburb in Suva, the capital. Please seek help if you are facing challenges. Let me tell you this about Fiji. Suva society, yeah, they may talk about all this stuff, but for long-term viewers, I have been very, very open about confronting myself and the trauma I have been suppressing for half a century. And now when I have been transparent about it, because I refuse to believe that this is who I'm meant to be. I'm brilliant. I'm not meant to be miserable. I'm meant to be using my skills to help other people achieve their accomplishments. So I refuse to start doing that by hiding my trauma. I will advocate from a point of liberation and transparency and truth. So that is why I decided to just reveal everything about me. Because at 18, I made the choice to be public in order to hide my trauma. That was in the late 80s. And so then I made a decision to be public about the unveiling of my invisibility cloak. That was the public eye. But I'll tell you this now. Suva society people are making fun of me. They're laughing at me. They are shredding me to pieces. They write me heinous, friends write me things like, we're all sick of you. Okay. And this is why there is a high rate in ratio, relatively speaking, Fiji has got one of the highest suicide rates. But they won't let you know that. It won't come up in a statistic because, you know, hey, island life, ah. Excuse me, I need to clear my throat. So yeah, suicide remains a silent killer in our country as cases of concern continue to emerge this year, where people are resorting to end their lives. The youngest victim of suicide in Fiji was a 7-year-old child. But you go ahead, Suva Society. Go ahead and laugh at people like me. You know, in Suva, I should know, for those of you who don't know and perhaps don't really care, but oh well. In Fiji, I am a media personality. I have been in the public eye since I was born. My family, and then was in the public eye, and then at 18, I went on radio and from then on very public, and then to become one of the first newsreaders in Fiji. I'm going to move into Studio K now because, you know, the news. This is why people don't want to listen to the news. But anyway, here, look at my sparkly vintage top. I have this in a few colors, actually. I do have to find a better way to segue, but hello, darling. Oh, look at that. All the teas are brewing. All the teas are brewing. Teas are brewing. And the sky is gray. And the sky is gray. The sky is gray. The sky is actually grey. And we're not in autumn. Where are we? We are in autumn.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, well, there you go. All the leaves are brown. No, not yet. Not yet. The leaves are not brown. The leaves are all still quite luscious and on the tree. And it is now coming towards the end of April. By now, leaves on those trees, what are they called? Is it deciduous trees that shed? No, perennial. Oh, I go, gosh.
I have no idea what it's all about.
This is high school science, darling, a long time ago, admittedly, for us.
High school where? Because there's no autumn in Fiji.
I've been talking about suicide. The suicide rate in Fiji is high. A person was just found dead. The youngest suicide victim in Fiji is 7 years old. And I'm talking about why these things will never change is because Suva Society laughs at someone like me, a media personality in Fiji, who young people do know, who could look up to me and not look up to me, as in look at me. And I have managed to thrive and accomplish, despite, as I said, over half a century of suppressed trauma, because I, with my privileges, refused to be that greedy to take the trauma, you know, as well as the privilege. No, I chose not to lead with the trauma. I led with the privilege and the opportunities, and those opportunities gave me platforms in which I was able to help other people. With which I was able to help other people, and that's what I'm doing. But as I said, Suva Society, they laugh. They laugh at people. They laugh at people who have mental health issues. They laugh at people who are transparent with what they have to put up with. And that's because they're all traumatized themselves. But so the way to deal with it is to all get around, gather together, and rip to shreds someone like me, which, well, I'm used to that. That happened to me from the very, very young age. So this is why the people of Fiji will continue to have this higher rate of suicide amongst them, and people, there's less than 1 million people, and well, there you go. They're going to continue having less than 1 million people. They don't care. They just continue having they're just going to continue having fun and laughing at other people, at other people's expense, at other people's mental health expense, and also, I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah.
What a society.
What a society.
A society that should have been helping all the young people. Instead, they're traumatizing them more. And I say this I love Fiji. I love Fiji. I'm very proud to be from Fiji. I'm very happy that I was born in Fiji, being a person of Indian ancestry also, being a person because of Indo ancestry, not completely accepted as a person of Fiji. I'm certainly not considered a Pacific Islander. Don't know what he is. He's triracial. indigenous blooded, sure, but because of the way he looks, perhaps not as, unlike your cousin who is half white.
Oh, yeah.
The half white people get accepted quite.
Well, the white people get accepted.
The oppressors are more welcome than the ones whose ancestors were sent there as legal slaves. Oh my goodness me, this world is messed up. You know, we are waiting for a significant solar flare. It may not actually do it. The way the world is going to be reset is that those solar flares, because the sun is approaching maximum, solar maximum every 11 years, the activity amps up. And so we are getting a lot of geomagnetic storms right now from flares that the sun is emitting, and solar flares that are actually surprising astronomers and scientists, because astrologers are very excited about it because they read it in different ways. But it's interesting, and so quite a few geomagnetic storms have affected the satellites of our communications, and that is what is going to happen. How we're going to get a reset is this. Our ways of communicating and being are going to perhaps be taken out. I hope not. I love technology. I really do. Even though we are still in the Middle Ages, I do like the technology that the exploiters in the Middle Ages have been able to create. Not all exploiters, of course, invention and etc. What is it? Necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so saying that, survival, the instinct to survive, we've talked about this, that instinct to survive kickstarts a desperate evolution. And we theorize about this. We've coined a word, imaginationing. In our imaginationings, actually, is it a word, imaginationing? It is now. We talk about, well, I theorize that the people who then left the continent that we now know as Africa. Africa is not an African word, by the way. African, it comes from something else, which I did know, but it's somewhere here, and it'll come to the forefront of my brain when we're done here. But yeah, when they left that to go north to seek, I don't know, colder climates because it was way too hot for something. This is the beauty of our species. We are variations. Our brain was always going to evolve the need to explore, because if we all stayed in that one area, we would not, and maybe that's not such a bad thing, we would not perhaps have progressed perhaps this is the bad thing. We progressed too soon. We progressed ahead of our time because our brains haven't caught up. And this is why we are now being surpassed by artificial intelligence that we programmed in the first place. We're being surpassed by robots. We get asked to verify if we are human by robots. We did this to ourselves. We did this in our quest for quick and fast and everybody, and it must happen right now. 60 seconds of entertainment, please. Education, wisdom. Enlighten me in 60 seconds. Oh, I'm sorry. You prefer wisdom, more palatable. I need to be less aggressive. I need to not be aggressive. I need to not be so blunt and abrupt and brusque and forthright. I need to be woman. I have been called that you're not other Indian women, are you? They're so feminine. I'm like, okay. Feminine gets weaponized. That word gets weaponized. Oh, I'm feminine. And I definitely know the power within me. The Daily Egg is a bit different today. I'm sorry about that. It's gone back to the Daily Egg of old, where it was just where I free flow. And today I needed to free flow. Today I needed to, because it has been, it's getting difficult now for all of us. And this is the time to really prove to yourself who you are, and really, I don't know what to say here. I know what I want to say. How it's going to be received, well, again, that's something out of my control. But it is in these times that our mettle is shown, that our fortitude, who we are. I don't know what to talk about, darling. As I said, today's Daily Egg has deviated from the normal structure of news and views, going back to the Daily Egg of old, where it was just a free flow for me. I just needed to free flow. You know, you and I have been, I'm not saying we're exempt. The whole world is in collective trauma. The whole world right now is undergoing something. Everyone's like, can April be over already? But that's not the point. It's not April. It's not the calendrical, it's not the months that matter. I got no advice. I was going to say it's you. And then I'm thinking, oh God, that doesn't really help, because we know it's not necessarily you. We are currently looking for sponsors and patrons and advertisers for our channel. We are televisionaries. We are inviting you to be a visionary with us. Things start, as I said, necessity being the mother of invention. I do feel there is a necessity for transparency and truth and vocal telepathy. And this is not something new we've done, but this is absolutely taking all our skills, and here we go. This is it. This is what we do. Because what is the point of having skills if you can't apply them? Why are artists punished for the fact they were born this way? Born with the skill sets, born with the ability to create things and channel something from the ether. That may sound whimsical and esoteric to you, but fact of the matter is, artists and art exist, and primarily art is what makes us have hope. Certainly our technology is not giving us hope. Technology is actually ebbing, is actually making us feel less hopeful. It's a never-ending battle. Are you prepared for a time when technology may not exist? I don't know. There are people, I think we are. Although, we rely on this, but there will be ways. There will be ways. Find me a mountain. People who seek the truth, far and few in between, because the truth then means they'll have to confront themselves with the truth. I assure you, I have spent a long time, as I say, this is a favorite way for me to describe it. I've scraped the marrows of me, of my core. In order to confront the world, you have to first confront yourself. And I don't think people can. And the ones who can, who are strong enough, are getting traumatized at every step. And women especially, the ones who carry the sacred eggs of life in the sacred womb, we have been weaponized against each other. And sure, what I have said today may also make me sound like I am in a battle against women, because women are the ones who will save the world. With our holy gods, with the men who know what they are meant to be here for, what they are meant to do. Women can save the world. Not the way we are now. Not the way woman is now. Anyway, thank you for being here. This was today's The Daily Egg. We'll be back this afternoon with Finalysis, a fun one. We do light things as well, you know. So join us at 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock? 5 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time. And Finalysis is about movies today and movie quotes. And we'll be sharing some of our favorite quotes. Join us, share your favorite quotes too, put them in the comments, etc., etc. We've got a lot of quotes. And my quotes come from other language, film industries as well. So we'll see you for that Finalysis. Thank you very much for being here. This has been rather, if you have managed to get through today's The Daily Egg, thank you. I appreciate that because that does show me something about you. Vocal telepathy, people. That's the only way we are going to be able to change this world. Confronting yourself and being transparent too. Bye. Whew.